Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is projection to 66 million BCE. Before we get into it, though, let's get into Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel, you can certainly do so on Patreon. When you join, you get a chat function, a direct message to me with ideas and criticisms and all kinds of good things. Also, advanced episodes on Sunday. If you're interested, just go to the description. There's a link to Patreon. Next up, Astral Projection Lessons. Just recently got another letter from one of my recent Astral Projection students. She's just begun projecting. So hope this one's out for you. I'm really happy that you've started. Anyway, if you're interested in finding out about Astral Projection Lessons, all you have to do is go to the description, and you'll find an email there. Just ask for more information. And finally, special thanks. If you want to throw, a special thanks at Astral Club, you can certainly do so, and it's very much appreciated. Okay, projection to 66 million BCE. This one was a lot of fun for me. I really like this kind of stuff, although it is a wee bit hazardous, but why bother doing it if it's not a little hazardous? That's my philosophy. I soared into the night sky, aiming for 66 million BCE. I stabilized my vibration, slowed my spin, and drifted into clarity. I blacked out, and eventually I got my consciousness back, and I found myself in a warm, humid world that felt loud with life. It was late Cretaceous Earth. I was a big dinosaur fan when I was a kid. I memorized the names of all the dinosaurs. Of course, my favorites were the late Cretaceous, which is why I chose this particular designation and time slot. So once again, I'm roughly about 66 million years ago, before the party started. Somewhere far out in space, a giant rock was on its way for a date with the Earth, which the Earth would never forget. What will one day be the east coast of the United States stretched out below me, though at the moment it looked nothing like the polite arrangement of suburbs, highways, and coffee shops I'm used to. There's no Virginia, no Carolinas, no Jersey traffic, just a vast, steaming coastal plain tangled in forests of conifers, cycads, and towering ferns, and many dinosaurs. A lot of dinosaurs. I hovered above 200 feet up, let's say, arms folded like a mildly impressed ghost tour guide. Below me, this was cool, lumbered a herd of Hadrosaurus, their duck-billed snouts sweeping the vegetation in synchronized grazing motions. I was so freaking out. I was just completely fanning. One juvenile fanboy in time. One juvenile squealed it was like a high reedy sound. And I watched a massive adult pivot protectively, tail swinging like I don't know what it was. It just was swinging pretty powerfully though. Anyway, off to the west, I saw a trio of dryptosaurs stalking through the broken woodland. They were lean, predatory, and tense with purpose. Smaller than their famous cousin, the T-Rex. I was hoping to see one of those, but it is what it is. Anyway, but they were no less serious about turning things into lunch than certainly any T-Rex would. Further inland, I spotted the famous Triceratops. I mean, if any kid has ever learned about dinosaurs, he knows about the Triceratops. The thing was moving like a tank with its defensive horns at the ready, moving with the calm confidence of creatures that have never once worried about customer service or mortgage rates. I imagine the air smelled rich and wet and mineral heavy. The planet felt younger, less organized, more experimental, like evolution was still trying things out just to see what would happen. Naturally, I decided to go to the ocean next. Much of North America at this time was split by shallow marine waters, but the eastern coastal shelf was broad, warm, and teeming. I drifted out over the rolling blue-green waves that shimmered under a heavier, denser atmosphere. Something large disturbed the surface below me. At first, I thought it was a drifting island of seaweed until it moved. Then it rose. A massive reptilian head broke the surface, jaws parting slightly as it inhaled. Rows of conical teeth flashed in the sun, dark eyes, cold, ancient, utterly focused, scanning the waterline. It was a mosasaurus. It was magnificent. It was the pinnacle of reptilian ocean evolution. I estimated it was about 50 feet or 15 meters long, maybe a little more. A living torpedo built entirely from muscle, teeth, and predatory certainty. Its body undulated with slow economical power, tail sweeping side to side like a colossal paddle. I thought anything caught in those jaws had better have its will all filled out, signed, and sealed. It exhaled with a deep, rushing burst, then sank below the waves again. And I felt the pull. I remember the feeling of getting into a Northrop T-38 Talon jet, feeling when you first see an open cockpit in a jet fighter and think, I wonder what that's going to feel like. However, I didn't just wonder. I wanted to feel what it was like to glide through this hazardous ocean as a conqueror. No fear felt, just supreme confidence. I dropped through the surface and followed the descending form. The light dimmed quickly into shifting blue-green haze. The mosasaur's body moved ahead of me, elegant, relentless. Then I willed myself to merge with this enormous, beautiful monster. There's always a moment of adjustment when you enter another nervous system. It's like a sensory translation, a scale recalibration. Then everything snapped into place. My vision sharpened, but not like human sight. It was more motion-focused, contrast-driven. The world became gradients of pressure and vibration. Water currents spoke in textures across my skin, or our skin. Every muscle fiber hummed with stored power. Hunger, though, dominated everything. It wasn't a matter of a mild curiosity, like, I could eat. Oh no. Instead, we had a ravenous biological command. Move, find prey, feed. My massive tail drove us forward in smooth, explosive thrusts. The sensation was intoxicating. Speed without friction, power without effort. My jaws flexed slightly, testing pressure. Rows of teeth locked into perfect alignment. I was built to seize, crush, and tear, and it felt extraordinarily right. You have to understand that in my human body and form, I have huge amounts of programming, as indeed we all do, about the proper way to act, being considerate of others, caring about others, not wanting to harm others. But in this thing's mind, there was none of that, what it would consider clutter. It was pure. It had one thing on its mind: find, kill, eat. And there was no guilt, no sense of, oh, the poor creature. No, there was nothing like that. It was just pure, and there was no evil either. There was no evil thoughts. It was just eat, consume. It was performing its function. And it was just a very, very different way of thinking. We passed through drifting clouds of ammonites. We thought about them and their spiral shells briefly, but it wasn't quite what was going to, fill the need. Feed the need. Schools of fish scattered in silver bursts as pressure waves from my movement rippled outward. Below, near the seabed, slow moving plesiosaurs cruised with long swan like necks weaving through the murky water. But they weren't the target. It took me a while to understand what was going on, but then I sensed it. It was a feeling totally unlike what we humans feel. I knew what was up ahead. I knew its approximate size. I knew it was a smaller version of me. And I knew I wanted to eat it. And I knew what I had to do to intercept it. And all of this was just coming to me from these sensations. And I think it was like the waves themselves, the water moving, that just allowed us to pinpoint our target. It was very alien, to say the least. I mean, because as humans, we just don't have that particular ability, that sensation. Anyway, we knew it was another mosasaur. It was smaller, perhaps about half of our length, still formidable but vulnerable to us. My body reacted before conscious thought formed. Our muscles tightened. The tail coiled. Jaw pressure increased. Predatory focus narrowed into a single blazing directive: attack. I accelerated. Water roared past my flanks. My prey sensed the pressure shift and turned. Too late. It tried to dive, twisting in a defensive spiral, but I struck from above. Bam! Impact. My jaws slammed shut around its midsection. The sensation of resistance, then tearing release. Bones shifted under crushing force. The smaller mosasaur thrashed violently, tail whipping, body convulsing in panic. We rolled. The ocean became a spinning blur of bubbles, sediment, and flashing light. I bit again, deeper this time, and felt hot blood flooding into the water. Warm, metallic, dense, and the sensation. A surge of raw biological satisfaction flooded our nervous system, and it was the most pleasure I think I've ever experienced. The way it came onto our mind. Feeding reflexes just ignited fully. We just lost it. We just tore and clamped and ripped. Chunks of flesh separated under immense bite force. The prey's movements weakened, then slowed, then stopped. Stillness. Floating fragments drifted around us. I swallowed great dense masses of meat, throat muscles contracting in powerful waves. Energy flowed into us, hunger easing, body stabilizing. Primitive triumph filled the mind, not emotional in the human sense, but a deep chemical reward, a living feedback loop millions of years older than humans and civilization. And strangely, I understood it now. This was not cruelty, not malice, just function, pure ecological clarity. The rule was eat or be eaten. After feeding, the mosasaur slowed. Massive lungs expanded. We rose toward the surface again, body heavy but satisfied. Sunlight shimmered above, and then another sensation. A familiar tether tugged gently at my awareness. My human body was sending out a signal that I must return. After a period of blackness, I found myself back in the 21st century. I was on this recliner sofa we have, a slight stiff neck. My arms felt a little numb, I think the way I had them. The contrast felt so absurd. One minute I'm in this ancient apex predator, and the next I'm in this middle aged guy chilling on a sofa. Still, the pull strengthened. The audit was complete. Sensory data recorded, experience integrated. I released the Mosasaur's consciousness and tried to just drift back to my human one. Um, it was an amazing experience. And of course, I started feeling guilty. That is the gift of humanity, I suppose. Yet it was interesting for a brief time in the distant past to see the world as simply and as basically as this mosasaur, and indeed all the predators back then, and the predators today too, to a large extent. That's just how they thought, and it was interesting to actually, sample that. Anyway, if you found that interesting, I know I had a lot of fun, even though I know, thinking back, it probably was a little intense for some folks, but the world of 66 million years ago, it wasn't all sunshine and gumdrops. It was a very kill or be killed, eat or be eaten type of world. And I think we humans, at least strange folks like myself, we're captivated by that world because I think it's so alien to us. I mean, it's our planet, it's planet Earth, but the world, the geography, the animals, the rules were just so different, so alien to us today. And certainly from a human perspective, a mammalian perspective, a primate perspective, a human perspective, we have all these different emotions that influence us, and we feel guilt and shame, and horror and regret, and this is just stuff that we live with, and it helped us to build our society and our communities certainly. But like I said, it was just interesting to be in a creature, share its mind that was very simple and direct, and absolutely no doubts, none whatsoever. Just a straightforward mission. Okay, so if you liked it, please hit the like button, share it with those of like mind, subscribe if you haven't already, and please comments and questions. What do you think about my little visitation there and sharing a mosasaur's consciousness? Is that something that you would like to do, or were you repelled by the whole thing and think I'm a barbarian? Whatever. Just let me know what you think, because I love reading that kind of stuff. And unlike a lot of other folks with channels, I read every single comment. That's why I color the hearts, because it's my way of keeping track that I've read everybody's comments. And if you have questions or something I have answers to, obviously I answer them too. And I'm going to continue to do that for as long as I have a channel. So please share your thoughts. It won't get blown off like it does on many other channels. This is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.